3 cups, one has food. The goat watches as the scientist switches them around. No tricks, just memory. The goat walks directly to the correct cup. First try. The sheep stands there, confused. The alpaca gives up halfway through. This isn't a one-time result. Aberystwyth University tested this for 10 months. Same outcome every single time. Goats outthink both sheep and alpacas, and I have the peer-reviewed evidence to prove it. Here's what scientists discovered about the animal you thought was just another farm creature. March 2025, Pwllpeiran Upland Research Centre in Wales. PhD candidate Megan Quayle is conducting the first study to directly compare the cognitive abilities of multiple farm animal species, not rats, not primates, not the animals we usually test for intelligence. She's testing goats, sheep, and alpacas, the animals standing in fields across every continent. 300 million goats alone, and nobody's ever asked, how smart are they? Today we find out. The test is deceptively simple. 3 cups, one contains a food reward. The animal watches as the researcher places food under a cup. Then the cups are moved, switched, shuffled. The animal has to remember where the food went. This is called object permanence. The ability to understand that objects exist even when you can't see them. Babies develop it around 8 months. Crows have it. Octopuses have it. But livestock, nobody knew. Until Quayle decided to find out. The results were published in Applied Animal Behavior Science. Goats demonstrated the greatest capacity to understand that objects still exist even when hidden. When the tasks became more difficult, swapping cups, adding delays, goats tracked the hidden object with remarkable accuracy. The sheep struggled. The alpacas, quote, struggled to complete the tasks within the time limit. Not my words. The universities, goats possess superior object permanence, verified. First species comparison of its kind. But here's where it gets interesting. This isn't just about party tricks. Object permanence is a survival skill. In the wild, goats need to track herd members through dense vegetation. They need to remember where predators were last seen. They need to mentally reconstruct their environment. Sheep, they evolved in open grasslands. Alpacas, South American plateaus. Goats, rocky mountainous terrain. Different landscapes, different survival pressures, different brains. If this kind of evolutionary investigation is what you're here for, you're in the right place. We examine verified animal science every week. The object permanence test was just phase 1. Quayle designed a second experiment. This time, spatial memory. The ability to remember where something is located in physical space. Goats, sheep, and alpacas were presented with buckets of food scattered across a small arena. They had to remember which buckets held food after the buckets were moved. Wait, before I show you those results, you need to understand what makes goat brains fundamentally different. Goats are selective feeders. They browse. They climb. They forage across wide, rocky landscapes, searching for specific plants. This behavior demands spatial memory. You need to remember where the good food sources are. You need to navigate efficiently. Return to productive areas. Avoid barren zones. Sheep, they're grazers. They eat grass continuously in herds. Less selectivity required. Alpacas, similar grazing strategy. Open plateaus. The evolutionary pressure on goats was different. Their survival required a sharper spatial memory. And that's exactly what the second test revealed. The spatial memory results were even more dramatic. Goats found food faster, made fewer errors. demonstrated what researchers call feeding efficiency. They mentally mapped the arena, tracked multiple food locations simultaneously, retrieved rewards in optimal sequences. The sheep made more mistakes. The alpacas, quote, struggled to complete tasks within the time limit. Again, if you've ever watched a goat navigate a rocky hillside, you've witnessed this intelligence in action. They're not just wandering, they're calculating, mapping, remembering. Have you ever owned a goat? Share your intelligence observations in the comments. This challenges 100 years of assumptions. We use dumb as a sheep as an insult, but nobody ever tested it. Not scientifically, not with direct species comparisons. Megan Quayle is the first to publish this research, and the farming community said this was impossible, that livestock animals are interchangeable, that cognitive differences don't exist between domesticated species. This study proves otherwise. Send this to anyone who's ever dismissed farm animal intelligence. The evidence is peer-reviewed, but the implications go deeper. If goats evolved superior cognition for survival, what does domestication do to that intelligence? These tests were conducted on domesticated goats, animals that haven't lived in wild mountain ranges for generations, yet they still outperformed sheep and alpacas. The cognitive architecture remained. Evolution doesn't erase complex traits quickly. This means goats still possess the mental tools their ancestors developed thousands of years ago. Even in captivity, even on farms, the intelligence is still there. We just never measured it. The research team also tested numerical competence. Can these animals distinguish between larger and smaller quantities of food? All three species, goats, sheep, alpacas, could tell the difference. They chose containers with more treats. This ability is widespread in animals. Even fish can count. But here's what shocked the researchers. When testing categorization skills, grouping similar shapes together, all three species struggled equally. Wait, I know what you're thinking. If goats are so smart, why can't they categorize shapes? Let me show you why that question misses the point entirely. This is the key insight from the conversation analysis. Evolution doesn't create general intelligence. It creates specialized intelligence. Goats evolved to solve goat problems, tracking food, navigating terrain, avoiding predators. Shape categorization, irrelevant to survival. So their brains didn't evolve that capacity. This is called cognitive specialization. Crows evolved tool use. Dolphins evolved language-like communication. Goats evolved spatial memory. Each species develops the intelligence it needs. This is why I investigate evolutionary cognition. Subscribe if you want more evidence-backed animal intelligence research. We prove what animals can actually do. But we're not done, because there's a darker implication here. If goats possess superior cognitive abilities, if they can remember, track, and process information better than other livestock, what does that mean for how we treat them, how we house them, how we manage 300 million goats globally? The researchers at Aberystwyth are already asking that question, and they're using artificial intelligence to find answers. Here's what they discovered. 300 million goats live in captivity worldwide. Farms, petting zoos, research facilities, private homes. Before this study, welfare standards assumed all livestock had similar cognitive needs: basic food, water, shelter. But if goats process information differently, if they require mental stimulation, environmental complexity, opportunities to navigate and explore, then current housing conditions may be inadequate. Not because farmers are cruel, because we didn't know. We never measured it until March 2025. Now we know. The question is, what changes? Professor Mariesha Fraser, head of the Pwllpeiran Centre, stated, "These findings have important implications for how these animals are managed, how they graze both together and apart, and how they adapt to new environments, not just welfare, economics. When you understand an animal's cognitive abilities, you can predict behavior, optimize grazing patterns, reduce stress, improve productivity." But they don't teach you this in agricultural programs. Not yet. Now you know what livestock researchers have known since 2025. Cognitive differences between farm species are real, measurable. Have you worked with goats professionally? Share your observations below. And here's where we connect to 2025 technology. The Aberystwyth team isn't stopping at behavioral tests. They're developing AI systems to track goat facial features real-time during cognitive tasks. The goal: understand what factors influence correct or incorrect decisions at a microscopic scale. Eye movement, attention shifts, micro-expressions. This is the future of animal cognition research. And I saved the most cutting-edge evidence for last. Because what they're discovering about AI-powered animal cognition tracking could change how we study intelligence across all species. Wales, 2025. Artificial intelligence tracks goat cognition. California, 2025. AI decodes dolphin language. London, 2025. Machine learning analyses crow tool use. Same technology, different species, same revolution. 10 years ago, this was science fiction. Today, it's published research. The Aberystwyth team hopes to apply AI facial tracking to determine decision-making processes in real time, not after the test, during the test. This changes everything. If you work in animal welfare, veterinary science, or zoology, this matters to you. Share this with colleagues. The field is shifting faster than textbooks can keep up. Direct quote from the research team. In the future, we hope to be able to apply promising new technologies, such as the tracking of facial features in animals using artificial intelligence systems, to determine the influence of various factors on the process, leading to a correct or incorrect selection on a finer scale. This is happening now, not theoretical. Active research. AI is being trained to read goat faces the same way it reads human faces, to understand cognition through micro-expressions. You will encounter AI-powered animal research in your lifetime. The question is whether you understand the implications before it becomes mainstream. Subscribe to stay ahead. This is where animal science is going. So here's what we know. Goats outperform sheep and alpacas in memory tests. They evolved specialized spatial cognition for survival. Current welfare standards don't account for these cognitive differences, and AI is about to reveal even more about how farm animals think. Here's my take. This isn't just about goats. It's about every species we've dismissed as simple or instinct-driven. Every animal we've never bothered to test properly. If a domesticated farm animal can demonstrate superior cognition, what else are we missing? Tell me I'm wrong in the comments. You can't unknow this. Every petting zoo goat, every farm animal you see, you'll wonder what's actually happening in that brain. What should I investigate next? Most requested topic in the comments gets the deep dive. Next video. Scientists just decoded what dolphins say when they're confused. They call it the WTF whistle. Won a $100,000 prize. I have the research team's audio recordings. Or, if you missed it, crows are entering their Stone Age right now, making tools, teaching each other. Cultural transmission. If these investigations matter to you, subscribe and hit the bell. I examine published animal intelligence research every week. Real studies, real evidence, no speculation. Click here for dolphins, or this one for crows. See you there.